Hey guys, yesterday I recorded a video about freedom of speech and about unpopular speech, and I made the mistake in it by calling out a fellow YouTuber by the name of The Amazing Atheist. If you're not familiar with the video I recorded yesterday, I wish you'd go watch it now. And if you're unfamiliar with The Amazing Atheist, why don't you look him up here on YouTube and watch a couple of his videos, and come back and watch this. In that video, I said three things that I want to clarify. Number one, I called him an asshole. Number two, I said that his YouTube channel was built out of anger and hatred. And number three, I said that the things that he says tend to be very unpopular. But it has nothing to do with his atheism. If you believe that there's a God, I support that. And if you believe that there is no God, I also support that. Whatever it is you believe at the end of the day doesn't really affect my opinion of a person at all whatsoever. I myself am agnostic. I believe that the world, the whole universe is so large and so complicated and so difficult to comprehend that our little ape brains can't possibly understand it. And I do think it is a little self-centered or silly to say that you know the answer. If you believe that there's no God, I support that. And if you believe that there is a God, I support that. But when you begin to say that you know that there's a God, I know that there's a God, or I know that there is no God, that I believe that that's a little arrogant, but I'll still get behind you. I really don't have a problem with that. One of my favorite authors by the name of Douglas Adams, who wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, called himself a radical atheist. And what he meant by that was just to say that he was an atheist, but he was so devout in his belief that when you say that you're an atheist, people confuse that with agnosticism. Well, you don't know that there's a God then. No, I know. I know that there is no God. I've seen sufficient evidence that there is no God. Um, and as much as I love Douglas Adams, at the end of the day, I think that was a mistake. I don't think he can know. I don't think you can know. And none of us have even a remote idea of what's going to happen when we pass from this earth and go on. Whether there's a heaven or a hell or a nothing or a reincarnation or just buckets of fried chicken that you're forced to eat for. I don't know. It's impossible. It could be an infinite number of things. There's an infinite number of possibilities, and there's zero sufficient evidence that points in one direction or the other. So I have no problem with atheism. And if you're brave enough to live your life as a devout atheist, man, I support that. The same way I will support someone who lives their lives devoutly religious. And whether you are the Pope or the self-proclaimed God of the godless, TJ, the amazing atheist, I support the fact that you believe so strongly that you're willing to get you know lead your cause. That said, number one, I called him an asshole, and it's because he's an asshole. And I'm pretty sure that if he's in the room right now, or if he was watching this video, he'd be nodding his head. Yes, I am an asshole. What he sells to you at the end of the day, his YouTube personality, is being an asshole. And I just don't think anybody wants to argue that. I'm surprised that anybody was surprised to hear that. Secondly, I said that his YouTube channel was built out of anger and hatred, and that's true. And I've been watching the guy since 2006, and whereas I'm not currently subscribed and I don't currently watch all of his videos, I do pop in every once in a while to see what's going on over there. But at the beginning, not only was he famous for his atheism, but he was also famous for attacking theists here on YouTube, and that is anger. That's hatred. And if you watch any single one of his videos, just pick any three. At least two of them are going to be him going on an anger-induced rant about something, whether it's getting kicked out of Burger King. I remember that video, or I had a particular theist here on YouTube, or theism in general, or feminism, or whatever. Clearly, his videos are all about being angry. And I don't think you can really argue against that either. Some of them aren't. There's a small portion that aren't, but the majority. And then thirdly, God, what was my third point? Thirdly, I said that many of his speeches are very unpopular. So if you look at his stance on feminism, for example, or if you look at his stance on rape survival, or if you look at his men's right activist opinions, that stuff, I'm not going to say it's right or wrong. I disagree strongly with many, many things the guy has had to say, but I agree with some of it, and I support him for choosing to say unpopular speech, no matter how unpopular It is, and no matter how much I disagree with it, right? I believe the quote is, someone once said, "I don't like what you're saying, sir, but I'll die for your right to say it." And I truly feel that way when it comes to TJ. But at the end of the day, I still think he's an asshole, and I don't think you can agree. I think he's a little self-centered. I think that his YouTube channel is built off of anger and hatred, and that he says a lot of really unpopular things. And what I was saying to you yesterday, and I want to clarify it again here, I'm certainly not a bastion or an example of healthy, happy, kind love. I'm not that guy. I don't claim to be that guy, but I'm saying that if you have the choice between anger and love, and if you have the choice of a positive message and a negative message, with your right to free speech, I'm encouraging you and hoping that you'll choose love, and that you'll choose a positive message, and you'll choose positive things for yourself. And I hope that if you do need to say something that's unpopular, that you do so in a responsible and careful way, and that there's the right way to go about it. Unpopular speech is important, and I support unpopular speech, and no matter how unpopular it happens to be, I just don't necessarily like putting it wrapped up in a message of hatred or a message of anger, because I think it can often invalidate what you have to say. Case in point, The Amazing Atheist.